It's Stacy with Lily Bean Crafts by Stacy. Welcome back. And if it's your first time, thanks for stopping by. I needed to make one really good spooky Halloween tumbler this season, and I got this vinyl print from Peachy Olive Glitters, and it's big. I mean, it's 12 by 12 like all the other vinyl prints, but all the pieces on there are really big. So I started off like I normally do, cutting it up a little bit, just kind of edging it, making it all fit. And then I realized that I was going to wind up cutting away all of the details that I love so much about this vinyl, these pumpkins. And I decided to work with a 32-ounce plump from the Tipsy Magnolia to give myself as much landscape as possible, but it still was not going to work. So here I am trimming it away like I normally would and realizing pretty quickly that I'm going to completely destroy this thing if I continue on with it. And so I shifted gears and went in a different direction. Now I'm going in with my scissors and I'm just trimming the pumpkins out, trying to cut them off as close as possible to the detail so that I can go in with this new approach and have all the pieces look like they should have been on the vinyl. And I'm just going to do this on both sides. If you haven't done so yet, check out my Lily Bean Crafters Community Facebook group. We're going to be starting to work on Christmas tumblers soon, so there's going to be some conversations, and I'm looking forward to all of that. So check that out. I'll have that linked in the description. First, I'm going to work with the centerpiece with the spooky haunted house, and I'm just going to kind of trim away what I'm not going to need because I will eventually be covering all of this up, and I knew that's how that was going to go. So I'm just going to go ahead and trim this away, and I'm going to apply this piece of vinyl directly to my tumbler. I did take the time to clean and prep my tumbler. I sanded it down, cleaned it up really good, and now, like I said, I'm using a 32-ounce plump, so there's a lot of space to it, and I'm just going to go ahead and gently place this haunted house onto the tumbler. I'm going to immediately apply 15 mLs of my fast set epoxy to here. I want to seal this in because I'm going to be going in and doing some detail work with alcohol inks. Something that I don't do very often, but I feel like with the route that I'm taking with this, it's exactly what it's going to need to have it all flow together. At this point in time, I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to pull this off. It really was a 50-50 on whether I would be throwing this tumbler away or not, or stripping it or whatever I needed to do. But I was really hoping that I would make it all come together. So once I have the epoxy on here, I'm going to go ahead and pop all the bubbles. I'm going to let this spin for 4 hours, make sure it's completely dry. And then I'm going to go start doing some detailing work with my alcohol inks. And this is an alcohol ink set that I got a couple months ago from Jen's Crafted Gems. I wanted this for a long time because I heard that it was so excellent and I hadn't used it. So I'm going to go ahead and use Black Hole right off the bat, which is just the black. And I'm going to go ahead and shake it up really good and just put it in my little tray here. I'm going to use a piece of a magic eraser and some 91% rubbing alcohol to go along with this. This did not last very long for me. Once I started on it, I realized that putting it into the little tray was not going to work, but whatever. But I will say that these alcohol inks are so pigmented I've never worked with anything as good as these. So I'm super excited that I got them. I'm definitely going to be adding more to my collection of them. And I'm just going to keep now just applying it directly to the sponge just to cover up all the stainless here so that I can work with a clean canvas. And I decided that I wanted to go ahead and make the skyline that light teal color, and I had some alcohol inks that kind of match that. So I'm going to go ahead and tape this off here and go outside and spray paint all of the black at the top white so that I can start work on the teal design portion of it. More of the learning curve that comes with this because I had the black alcohol ink on there. When I spray painted it white, the black inks bled through, but it totally worked with the color tone. So what I'm using now is, it's called Patina from Tim Holtz, and it's just a really great color that really matches the skyline on here. So I'm going to go ahead and add this, and then I'm also going to add some Hades from Jen's Crafted Gems starter kit. And these colors just worked really, really good to bring this all together. I'm in Vanessa Davis's elite group, and I learned this technique from her. Vanessa Davis has taught me so many really cool ways of working with tumblers to blend it all together and add extra detail. Like, that's her specialty. I'm going to take a little bit of my 91% alcohol and just kind of rub off some of the white spray paint because some of the pieces you could tell they weren't cohesive. So I'm just going to go ahead and wipe it off a little bit so that it will blend a little bit better so that I get that cohesive look. Right back in with the alcohol inks to cover up where I took some of it off. So a couple weeks ago, my friend Nicole Mantooth, she made a Tumbler tutorial that was so cool, and it was like a spooky scene with fog all around it, and I just love the way that it turned out, and I wanted to do something kind of similar to that, but not quite, and I decided that I would take the haunted house and do a whole fog scene over it to make it look all spooky. And she was definitely the inspiration for me doing that. So what I'm doing is I took about 30 mLs of my fast set epoxy and I mixed it all up, and then I took 3 little cups here and I poured some in there. And from Simply Sarah's, I took Heirloom Silver, Vanishing Fern, and Vanishing Lilac, and I put a little bit in each cup. The Vanishing Fern gives a slight green tint to it, and the Vanishing Lilac gives a slight purple tint. I wanted the green to go over the top, by the top of the house and like by the moon. And the lilac, I wanted it to be on the bottom of it where it's got a little bit of a purple tint to the vinyl. And then the Heirloom Silver is just a really light silver that just gave a great tone to go over the entire thing. And I'm going in with the rest of my epoxy here, and I'm just going to coat it all really good to give it a base. And then I'm going to let it sit for a minute, and then I'm going to go in and I'm going to pop any bubbles and heat up the epoxy a little bit. And then I'm going to hand place all of the micas that I mixed in a way that's going to go with how I wanted the theme of the fog to look. Because I'm using a fast set epoxy, I don't have a lot of time. I've only got a few minutes to play here, but I like that because it's not going to get a lot of movement, because the fast set epoxy starts drying so fast that it's not going to wiggle around a lot on there and shift from where I'm placing it. So I'm just going in, like I said, this was the Vanishing Fern. Like you can see, it just gives a slight green tint to it. And then I'm going to go in on the bottom with the Vanishing Lilac, just kind of place that carefully, not going crazy with it. You don't want to add too much. You can add more, but you can't take away from the micas. So I just really lightly went and placed it. And then once I had both of those on there, I'm going to go over all of it with the Heirloom Silver just to give it a little bit more dimension. And then once I have it all placed on there, I'm going to take my heat gun and I'm just going to put it on low because, like I said, I don't want it to get a lot of movement, but I want it to not look like it's globbed together. I just want to make it more lucid. And I went ahead and I did that, and then it was all set. And I let this dry for 4 hours, and then I started working on the next step. I'm going to go ahead and put Nicole's tutorial in my description as well. Go check that out because hers was really awesome. Now I'm going to start working with the rest of the vinyl. These was the pieces that I loved so much about this that made me buy this print. I loved how the eyes just have this great glow to them. I love how big they are. The lantern really just pops. So I really wanted this to look good. So I'm going to go ahead and just place this very carefully on the side of the house. And also at the same time, I want to make sure that it's going to line up. The other piece is going to line up on the back side so I can have it come together so that the tumbler flows all the way around. Decide to make this, one of the things that you hopefully won't do is trim off some of the pumpkin. Remember, when I first started this, I wasn't planning on doing this design, so I was just trimming it to make it fit on the tumbler, and I saved all of the pieces, luckily, So now I'm just going to go in and reattach the whole face of all the pumpkins at the bottom, and I'm going to have to work with that. I'm going to go ahead and attach the other side to the tumbler in a way that it looks like the entire pumpkin scene was just one piece instead of several small pieces of vinyl. Once again, I'm going to go and attach the little piece that I had trimmed off originally. The pumpkin here was actually at the top of a piece that I'm not going to use. So I decided to trim him and fit him into the bottom so that it looks like there's pumpkins all around the front of the house. To fix my error with trimming off the pumpkin at the bottom, I'm just going to take my Posca pen, my black, like extra fine Posca pen, and just kind of trim out where I attached it so that you kind of can't see the fact that it's two separate pieces of vinyl. This is where I'm just being extra. Now I'm going in with another 15 mLs of my fast set epoxy. I want to seal everything in, and then once this dries, I'm going to be doing some more alcohol ink to the back side of it and to the bottom so that the entire design flows together. So this is the last piece of work that I'm going to be doing on the tumbler. I'm once again taking the black hole from Jen's Crafted Gems, and I'm just putting it on to my little sponge here, my little magic eraser sponge. And I'm also going to have some 91% alcohol off to the side so that if this looks too thick, I can kind of trim it down a little bit and make it not so blotchy looking. So I started off with going with just the black hole, And then once I had the black hole totally on there, I did go over it with Hades, which is a really pretty purple. And I'm just gonna go ahead and blend it all together so that this looks as if it is one piece all the way around, and you will no longer see any of the lines from the vinyl at the bottom and along the back seam. And now I'm going in with my final coat of epoxy. This is 15 mLs of my Flynn Sisters regular medium viscosity artist cure. This is the one that's going to make all the shine and make it all just come together. And I'm going to go ahead and put this on really good. Make sure that I pop any bubbles. Make sure that there's no dust or anything like that on there. And I'm going to let this spin for 8 to 10 hours, and then it will be done. So glad that I stuck with this design because it was pretty 50-50 in the beginning of this, whether or not I was going to be throwing this vinyl away or not, and I'm so glad that I stuck with it. I love the fact that I decided to make the ghost or the haunted house look spooky with all of the fog. I did put a glitter butt on here, which I did not film, but I have done that in several other tutorials. And if you like this video, please hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll see everybody again next week. Bye-bye.